Rescue efforts in the landslide-affected Churalmala in Wayanad have entered their fourth day. The death toll has reached over 300. This is what the Health Minister from Kerala, Veena George, has informed ANI. Many villages and homes have been swept away in the landslides that occurred on the 30th of July. Despite heavy rain and a challenging terrain, 40 rescue teams are continuing their search operations. These 40 teams, we are told, will also be conducting search operations in 6 zones of the landslide-hit areas. Rescue and relief ops are in full swing. The Indian Army has completed the construction of the Bailey Bridge in record time. It's a 190-foot bridge. This bridge is crucial in connecting Churalmala with Mundakai over a river. The bridge is now open to traffic and it's been handed over to the civil administration. Congress leader and former Wayanad MP Rahul Gandhi and his sister Priyanka Gandhi Vadra visited the landslide-affected area in Wayanad last afternoon. Now, to help the displaced people and assist in rehabilitation efforts, NDTV has started a Care for Kerala campaign. Here are the details. Meanwhile, politics continues to peak with the BJP accusing the Kerala government of censorship. BJP MP Tejasvi has alleged that the Kerala government has passed an order restraining science and tech institutions from field visits as well as sharing details and reports of disaster-affected areas. The Kerala government has now withdrawn the order, with the Chief Secretary's office issuing a clarification instead. A note was issued regarding exercising restraint in expressing opinions related to the landslide in Wayanad, but it was not issued with the intent to restrain the scientific community, but to discourage statements and opinions that may be misinterpreted or misquoted. Very unfortunate and tragic news coming in from Kerala, because 295 people have been confirmed dead in Wayanad. Several villages, homes have been washed away. Unfortunately, the politics continues to peak over this absolutely colossal tragedy. In fact, let's just take a look at Tejasvi Surya's post on X as well. He has said, "Emergency and censorship come naturally to communists. An atrocious order has been passed by Kerala government, restraining science and tech institutions from field visits as well as sharing details and reports of disaster-affected areas." Tejasvi Surya further adds, the state government is frightened that such activities will expose the Wayanad landslides. That is what his latest post on X says. The death toll, I must inform you, has now crossed 300 as per the latest details that the Kerala Health Minister Veena George has disclosed. The BJP saying that the state government is holding back reports on disaster relief data. The government in Kerala has rebutted and withdrawn an advisory, instead issuing a clarification. But very unfortunate that 295 people have lost their lives in this natural tragedy. Rescue efforts in the landslide-affected Churalmala in Wayanad have entered their fourth day. We are told around 200 people are still missing, and many villages and homes have been swept away in the landslides that occurred on the 30th of July. My colleague Pratibha Raman has been on the ground tracking the latest developments for us. She joins us live from Wayanad at the moment. Pratibha, the Kerala's Health Minister Veena George is saying that the death toll has now reached over 300. Do we have a confirmation?
Well, as of now, what we hear from on ground is that it is definitely around 295 where the death toll stands at right now. And we are also told that they are trying to see how many more bodies that they can recover. Now, I have already mentioned that it took around 16 hours to build a bridge that had to be accessed with respect to the far-flung areas. And this has now proved to be pretty advantageous to move the earth-moving equipment as well as other JCBs that could be pretty helpful in nature in terms of removing the mud as well as the slush there to help in retrieving many of those bodies that are buried underneath. In fact, let me show you this entire region. hilly regions here and different places that have hotels as well as resorts. Now, it was a similar landscape like this at Mundakai, which has been washed out completely, and it was pretty remote in nature in terms of not being able to access that. And right now, it is a bridge like that, which will help in reaching out to those areas and trying to see if they can recover more bodies. Around 200 odd people are missing, and there is still hope that there would be people who would survive this tragedy. But then it is pretty unfortunate to know that there needs to be thermal scanners that need to be used in terms of identifying those bodies that are lying underneath there. And talking about this landscape, this place is home to a lot of tea plantations, and many of the plantation workers were also stranded in different parts of those sites where the landslides occurred. Hilly regions here, and the soil is pretty loose. Also, the trees that have been uprooted also not helping in terms of the rescue operation there. So you need to have a lot of JCBs moving in to remove all of those rubble as well as debris there to try and see if they could get those bodies there that are still lying buried underneath. So thermal scanners, dog squads, JCB equipment, defense teams, NDRF teams, all of them working round the clock despite the inclement weather conditions there. In the meantime, yes, there is a political blame game that is on, but then right now the priority must definitely be the rescue operation, is what we hear from people on ground. Back to you.
Right. Also, Pratibha, the State Revenue Minister K. Rajan mentioned that a drone-based radar from Delhi would arrive on Saturday to actually help locate bodies that are buried under the mud.
We are talking of bodies that are buried as deep as around 12 feet. So it is pretty manually impossible to reach out to those. Yes, equipments like the thermal scanners as well as the other equipment there that would be arriving from Delhi would definitely be extremely useful in nature. Also, another thing that one needs to mention is that many of them are volunteers who have come in from different pockets of Kerala to try and see. One trying to say that I have a JCB equipment, please use that. Another saying that we would fund the ropeways that are being used for rescuing many of the people. In fact, another person who has also said that he would be giving away at least around 100 houses to those people who are rendered homeless. So a lot of people who are gathered here to try and see how they could help the rescue teams. So that also deserves a lot of applause, as well as mentioning here in terms of people from Kerala who are trying to show that they are resilient in nature. They will come out of this tragedy. When is still a question. Yes, it is definitely going to take quite a lot of days in terms of normalcy to return at a place like Wayanad, which has always been known for its beautiful landscape here. Unfortunate that it is known for all the wrong reasons at this point in time. Back to you.
Just for this point of time, though, as we wrap, Pratibha, you have been reporting that 40 teams are conducting search operations. These 40 teams will be conducting search operations in 6 zones. Could you tell our viewers what these 6 zones are?
Well, in fact, yes, that is the exact place where the landslides occurred. We are talking of 3 landslides that occurred in a span of 4 hours, and it is definitely going to be difficult. So let me ask my camera person to pan and show you. When there is a hilly region like this, the landslide happens from the top and it falls down to the base level where there was a bridge that proved to be the axis, and that is the bridge that collapsed, and I was talking to you about the makeshift bridge there. So those hilly regions have different villages and towns that are there, which are all under the rubble, and that is precisely why it becomes difficult in terms of search operations, and you need to have different teams exploring at least the different zones that I'm talking about. The 6 zones are Punchiri Mattum region, Mundakai that we have already visited, the school area there, Churalmala town area, village area, and the downstream downstream area. Now the downstream area is where the flash floods occurred. As I speak to you, you can see the rescue teams there making their way up and down from the safer locations where they could be shifted and coming back to the Churalmala town there. In fact, we are also heading to the Churalmala town, and you can see many of the animals here as well that have survived the tragedy. We have been talking only about human lives, but several of those animals are also being rescued from this tragedy there. A very, very difficult and a distressing situation here on ground in terms of the rescue operation there. We are talking about several lives that have been lost. None of them that have really accounted for the animals too that have braved this disaster there. In fact, when we did visit Mundakai, there were a lot of cattle as well that were trying to survive this tragedy there. All of them huddled in more of the safer locations there. In fact, there was a mosque lying on right at the top, and most of the animals as well as several of those people were also lodged there trying to see if they could find some shelter there. And this is exactly how most of them were trying to see if they could find safer locations there. Plantation who had survived this tragedy, and these are the kind of buildings that were there lodged at the site, all of them under the rubble. So it was pretty difficult to see that lives that were once there. In fact, you can see the ambulances that are heading from this place. Several of these ambulances making their way to the Churalmala town area to try and see how they could save lives there and also bring in the bodies that have been recovered there. So that's the picture that we bring you from Wayanad here. Most of them trying to make their way up and down to see if they could find more survivors, all of them in the hope of finding more survivors than dead persons. Back to you.